Hello, YouTube pipers. Double O Pipe here, aka Rick. Once again, my Clark's favorite, Savinelli, and Carter Hall. I find that the Carter Hall is much easier on my oral cavity. Because believe it or not, it's healed up, even though I had a bowl of this. Was it yesterday or the day before? I can't remember. Must have been the day before. Well, I should have gotten a filter, I think, but I forgot. I'll have to remember to bring those up here so that I'll have them close by. I don't know what it is about this, but that aroma is really nice. Howdy, folks. We've had another, all last night it rained. It must have rained pretty hard because there was a lot of water out there this morning. But one thing about it, I took Hunter out around 12, midnight, and the rain was beginning, and we stayed out there for a bit as he tried to figure out what he needed to do. Sometimes I wonder if he knows what he needs to do. At any rate, for the first time, we slept, when I got back into bed at a little after midnight, neither of us woke up again until 7 in the morning. That's never happened, not since he's been here. To me, that was amazing. And it was really nice to sleep. I haven't felt really tired today like I have for so long. But he doesn't like to go out when it's raining, and I don't blame him. Took him out this morning, and he hadn't been out again since. I've mentioned it to him a couple of times, and he just looks at me like, "Are you crazy? It's raining out there." He's he makes me laugh. I'm glad he's here. That's some good tobacco. Everybody should try that. I don't know if you have or not. You should. Well, everybody knows because I've made it pretty obvious, and I've been waiting on the presents to roll in, but I haven't seen any yet. My birthday is next week, Wednesday. And it reminded me of another birthday when I was 5 years old. I was playing in the front room, and I heard my mother in the other room. They were talking together, and I kind of used to lean my ear in to see what they were saying because I was pretty daggum nosy as a kid. And my mother was saying, "Can't we leave him with my sister this time?" And Dad said, "No, we're going to take him with us if we're going to a movie, he's going with us." My dad was funny like that. He didn't believe anybody else should have the responsibility for me because I was their responsibility, and that's the way he felt. If they went somewhere, I went with them. my, mother, my mother didn't care for it. You would think a mother would want their child with them, but she wanted to go with just him. And I mean, I spent half my life over at my aunt's house anyway. I don't know what the big to-do was. But Dad said, "Nope. If we're going, he's going with us." So Mom got the paper and she looked in there and she said, "Well, the next show starts in an hour. So if we're going, we can make it now. So we better go now." He said, "Well," and Dad was never one for wanting to go anywhere. He had a home. He wanted to stay home. And Mom said, "You'll like this movie." He said, What's it called?" She said, "Ruby Gentry." He said, "Well, something on TV, isn't there?" She said, "Jennifer Jones is in it." He said, I'll go wash up." So she came in there with a smile on her face and said, "Come on, let me get you washed up because you're going to the movies with us." And Dad had said to her, "He'll probably fall asleep just like he did last time." Which, why do you want to lug around a sleeping child? I don't know. My dad had funny ideas. But they were his ideas and we lived by them. So we went to see Ruby Gentry. And I sat there and I was glued to that screen. I didn't fall asleep this time. And as we were going home, the radio, Mom clicked the radio on. Normally Dad didn't like the radio on in the car either. He was a funny guy. But anyway, the song Ruby was on. And he sat there driving and just hummed along with it. And when it was over, he clicked the radio off. But he liked the tune. Oy. So we got home and I was put to bed. And the next day, when I got up, I ran to the radio and clicked it on and ran the tuning knob across the face to find a station that had that song playing. And I found one. And I sat there just, my mind going as the music was going. And Mom came in and turned the radio off after the song was over. And she said, "Your birthday's coming up." I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, "What do you want for your birthday this year?" And I said, "Ruby." She said, "That's all you want?" I said, "Yeah, that's what I want. I want Ruby." So she looked at me kind of funny and she said, "Okay, that's what we'll get you." They always tried to get me what I wanted when I asked for something specific. Even if they had to go without something, they would get me as a special treat for my birthday, whatever I asked for. They were good to me. Anyway, time went on, and I kept thinking about my birthday, and I was going to get Ruby. And finally the day got there. My mother came in there, woke me up, said, happy birthday, boy. It's your birthday today. I said, can I open my present? She said, no, you can't open your present. That comes later this afternoon. I had that look on my face like, dadgummit, I want what I want now. Like kids always are. It just makes me laugh to think of this so long ago. So Mom said, come on, get up. I got your favorite breakfast in here, waffles. I said, waffles? Oh, yum. And I got dressed and ran in there and sat down. And there was a waffle in the plate, had that butter melting into those little squares. And I just watched it melt, and she lifted up the syrup and she said, say when. And she was pouring and pouring till it dripped over the sides of the waffle and then began to fill up the plate and just drip over the side of the plate. And I said, whoa. I liked a little bit of syrup with my waffle. So I scarfed it down and I said, can I open my present now? She said, no, you know your daddy's got to be home and we got to have cake and ice cream and your cousins need to come over to say happy birthday. Frustrated little boy. So I said, okay, I guess I'll have to wait. She said, you know you will. So she said, I'm going to go ahead and clean up. Why don't you run over to your cousin's house and play? So I ran out of the house, screen door slamming behind me, over to my aunt's house. Through the door, slammed, walking up to the table. And my aunt said, would you like a piece of bacon? And I said, yes, ma'am. And she handed it to me, and I sat down on the bench. Two girl cousins across from me, and Hayne, my cousin next to me, over here at the front of the table, at his specially made table, and started munching on my piece of bacon. And everybody all at once said, happy birthday, and started singing happy birthday to me. And my aunt came in and said, well, birthday boy, would you like some eggs and toast? I said, no, ma'am, I had waffles, and I'm kind of full. And my cousins looked at her and said, why can't we have waffles? We'd like to have waffles on occasion. She said, it's not your birthday. So it was raining a little bit outside. It was drizzling like it is out here now. So we didn't go outside. Somebody said, let's play Monopoly. So we all jumped up and got the Monopoly board and started handing out the pieces. And before I knew it, the phone had rung. And it was my aunt. She said, Ricky, it's for you. Your mama says you need to come home. Your daddy's home. So I said, okay, and got up and ran across the yard and to the house. Walked in, screen door slamming behind me. My dad said, son, you've got to learn to stop slamming that screen door when you come in. And I said, yes, sir. Never took. I mean, that was, to me, that was a right of being a boy in the South. When you went inside, that screen door slammed behind you. That's just part of your life. But I always said, yes, sir. But that's the one thing I never paid attention to. Anything else he said, yeah, I did. So he unwrapped his newspaper and started reading it again. I said, can I open my present now? And he said, you got to eat dinner first. And then we'll talk about opening your present. Well, My mother cooked fried chicken, and she always sliced potatoes very thin and fried them up, and they were a little bit tastier than the potato chips you buy in the stores. They were just tiny bit meaty, but just right. She had a way about that. She could just do it with her knife, and which she did. She took the time to do it, and she cooked them up for us, and we sat there and ate fried chicken and those fried potato slices. Such a good meal. So I finished up and looked up at them, and they're still munching away slowly, kind of looking off in the distance, talking a little bit. Not much, because Dad didn't believe it talking at the dinner table. We always ate in silence mostly. But I was finished, and I pushed my plate, and I said, "Can I open my present now?" And Dad said, "You've got to wait until everybody has finished." So I sat there. He was always trying to teach me patience. Something else it didn't take. But he was very subtle about it. He took his time eating. Mom took her time eating. And there I was, stewing, because I knew my present was in there and I wanted it now, because they said they were going to get it for me. So Mom picked up the plates after they finished and took them into the kitchen. Brought out the cake and the ice cream. And I said, Can I eat now and get my present?" And they said, "Well, you need to get in touch with your cousins. Why don't you run across and ask them to come over?" Once again, out the door, slam, across the way. Outside the screen door, I yell into the house, "We're eating ice cream and cake. Come on, I want to open my presents." Off again, I crossed the yard, into the house, slammed behind me. My dad looked at me. I said, "Son." I said, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." Well, the cake was sitting there. Chocolate cake, heart-shaped, white icing with 5 candles in it. And the ice cream was in a plate. And it used to be a brick, but by the time the cousins came over, it was kind of almost a mountain with a lake of pink chocolate and off-white vanilla. I'm still sitting there squirming, wanting my present, because I know it's in the back room. Everybody comes in, they say happy birthday, they sing happy birthday to me. We eat cake and we eat ice cream. I'm just anxious. And then the cousins hand me presents, and I look, I don't want these. I'm thinking to myself, I don't want these. I want my present that's coming in the back. But I sit there and I open my presents, and I smiled and I said thank you, put it aside, the next one. And then I looked at my mother like, do I get my present now? The one I really want? But I didn't say it. I just thought it. And she knew I was about to say it. And she said, "I'm going to get your present now." So I watched her go into the back room. She came out, and I kept watching, and my face kind of fell. And she came over, and she realized that I was kind of caught up in something, so she shook me and she said, "Ricky, are you all right?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." I said, "Where's my present?" She said, "Here it is." And she handed it to me. It was like an envelope with a bow on it. And I looked at it, and I took the bow off, and I pulled it out, and I pulled out a 45 RPM record. And in the middle it said, "Ruby." And a tear formed in my eye. It started almost rolling down my cheek. And my uncle said, "Lord have mercy, boy. You act like you were going to get Jennifer Jones, who played Ruby. And I looked up and kind of halfway smiled, and that teardrop just ran down my face. And I said, but I don't have a record player. And my mother said, hang on for a minute. Came out, put down a package, I opened it up, and it was a record player. And my dad plugged it in and said, let me hold your record, son. And he put the record on and just started playing. It wasn't even the right edition of Ruby. If it was going to be the song from Ruby, it should at least be the one that was on the screen, not this one that starts out bum 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 bum. I don't know if you're familiar with that tune or not, but that's what it started out with, and I was going, what is that? The other one came in softly and faded softly. This one came on with this bombast, boom, 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 and ended the same way. So that was my birthday. I kept looking for Jennifer Jones to come out. I said I wanted Ruby. I didn't say I wanted a song, a record. They didn't quite understand what I was upset about. Excuse me. Well, the next year, when it was about time for my birthday, prior to that, we had gone to see a movie called Singing in the Rain. And my mother said, got any ideas what you want for your birthday? I said, I sure do. I want a silver dollar. She looked at me like she did the year prior, and a silver dollar? I said, yes, ma'am. So she just kind of said, okay, we can see what we can do for you. Well, prior to this, after watching that movie, I had been flipping a coin trying to learn how to do it the best I could, but none of them were a silver dollar, so they didn't have the weight of the one that was on the screen that mafia guy was flipping. And I figured when I got that silver dollar and I learned how to flip it, that Sid Charisse was mine, because she just walked straight to that mafia guy when he was flipping that silver dollar. So it wasn't Ruby anymore I wanted. It was Sid Charisse. I sure love those women on the screen. That's all I can say. But my parents never quite understood what I meant when I said these things. They took me literally. I was just a stupid little kid. Well, like I said, that's just another birthday memory. All this took place at that old house that I always thought was haunted. When I lived next door to my cousins, and it was probably the best time of my life, because I was real close to family. I was an only child, so having cousins next door was like having brothers and sisters. When I started school, my mother would take me to my grandmother's house on Sunday, because she and Dad both started working. Or she started working when I started school. And she would leave me there Monday through Friday, so that that's when Clyde and I became like brothers, or at least I felt like we did. And we grew up together for 5 or 6 years there. So anyway, family meant a lot. Everybody's pretty much gone now. But I still have those memories. I hope everybody's doing fine. We had enough rain here that the yard is saturated enough that I'm having to wear the hip boots again. Hunter doesn't want to go out because he doesn't like being in the rain or walking through puddles. But what can you do? I'd like to see if we can sleep again for 7 hours at night. That would be something. Okay. Grab a pipe, and I suggest shoving Carter Hall in it. And lighten it up. I appreciate those of you who have come by. I appreciate your spending time with me. I appreciate sharing a pipe with you. And I hope you're all doing well. And I'll say, God bless you. Till the next time. Take care. Bye-bye.